A feature we as meteorologists often watch closely during storm systems is something called a triple point. This is the location where three different boundaries meet, typically a cold front, warm front, and occluded front, all connected to the same area of low pressure. Because several air masses are colliding in one small region, a triple point can become a very active part of the atmosphere. You often have warm, moist air from the warm sector meeting cooler air wrapping around the low. That contrast helps create strong convergence, meaning air is forced together and then lifted upwards. When air rises quickly like that, it can lead to the development of thunderstorms, and sometimes those storms can become severe. Triple point areas can feature enhanced wind shear near the surface, along with plenty of instability, which are ingredients that can support rotating storms. That's why meteorologists and storm chasers often pay very close attention to where the triple point sets up on a weather map. In weather forecasting, the triple point simply refers to the meeting of those three frontal boundaries. So remember, when a cold front, warm front, and occluded front all meet in one spot, that triple point can become a prime location for storms to develop and intensify.